country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the Northwoods country.
Thanks for coming along on this Northwoods Ramble, everybody. I'm Sealy Dave, your Hyperborean reporter. I'm coming to you solo today. No TJ. He's working the Epic Bike Fest. Sorry, they've got gravel and mountain biking this year. So it's the Epic Bike Fest that American Birkebeiner puts on. He's working that, and I thought I'd give him a break for a week. He's been working pretty hard on that. He probably wants to spend a little time with family since he's been away from them out on the trails, getting everything ready for the race and then working the event over the weekend. So in the meantime, I thought I'd do a short little podcast, take you on a ramble through our gear library that we have, our bikepacking gear library. So I run the Hungry Bear Gravel Race and used some of the profits this year to purchase the start of a bikepacking gear lending library. My original idea was this would be for community members, local high school kids and families that want to try bikepacking. They probably all have mountain bikes or gravel bikes already because they live up here and that's what people do here. Getting into bikepacking can be expensive, even if you have camping gear at home, like lots of families do now. Very often those are big tents and, big Coleman sleeping bags, and all that stuff is unwieldy to strap to a bicycle and bring along for a short trip. So bikepackers tend to use stuff that originally was developed for backpacking. So small, lightweight stuff, and small, lightweight quality equals expensive. So you kind of can't get the small and lightweight without expensive. So, and then the bikepacking bags themselves can also add up. I mean, a bikepacking tent might be $600. A lightweight quilt might be $200. The bags are, $150 a piece and stuff like that. So all in, you might have $1,500 just to try something, and who knows if you like it or not. I hope you like it. I've created a bunch of routes to try to encourage people to try bikepacking in the Northwoods here, and I think it's really fun. But if you want to just give it a shot, it's right now there's no place to rent this stuff. You have to buy it or borrow it from somebody. So I thought with the Hungry Bear profits, I'd create a gear lending library. And then originally just for the community members, but then I thought, so many people might come here to visit and want to ride a bikepacking route that I'm going to try to work with the local bike shops in town. So they already rent bikes to visitors who may not have bikes, but let's say you're coming and you have a mountain bike, or a gravel bike, and you want to try bikepacking. The shops don't currently rent the gear for that. So what I'm thinking about doing is I have 5 sets of gear right now that I purchased with the 2023 Hungry Bear profits. And I'm hoping to purchase another 5 sets of gear, the same stuff, with the 2024 profits. And then there are 2 great bike shops in Hayward, Riverbrook Bike and Ski, and then New Moon Ski and Bike. And both of them have rental programs already. So I'm going to talk to the shop owners and see if they would be willing to add the gear lending library stuff that I'm purchasing, the bikepacking gear, to their rental system that they've already got. And then anybody visiting can try bikepacking and go on one of the routes up here, or make one up on your own. And it will be a lot more affordable. And then if you do like it, I'm going to see if I can work out a deal with the shops as well, that maybe okay, you came back, thought that was great, now I want to buy some stuff. So you can go to the shop where you're rented and buy the gear that you want, and maybe get like a 10% discount or something like that, whatever the shop is willing to offer. So I'm going to talk to the owners of both shops about that. And so stay tuned. And I'll let everybody know on a future podcast what the outcome of those conversations are. In the meantime, if anybody does want to rent any of the gear that I have, you can contact me through my website, lifeabove8, EIGHT.com. and you can find my email there as well. There will also be links in the show notes to how to contact me and with the website as well. So, so anyway, I'm going to walk through this gear that I've got, the what it is, and I will try to describe it to those of you who are just listening to this on audio can get a feel for what I've got. But you might want to give the video podcast a watch. You can watch this as a video on Spotify or on our YouTube channel, our Life Above 8 YouTube channel. And again, that will be linked in the show notes, but our YouTube channel is Life Above 8, numeral 8. So if you're looking for that on YouTube, that's how you find it. All right, so let's go through this. So for those of you who are watching, I'm gonna pop up a slide of the gear that I've got. And I'm gonna put myself in the corner, in the upper corner there. And yeah, so I set up one of the tents, and I have outside my house in the grass, and then I have my bike next to it, leaning against a tree with bikepacking bags on it. And then in the foreground on the grass, I have the sleeping bag, the quilt, and the air mattress, and the air pillow that we have. So the tent that I got, the tents that we have to rent or borrow are Big Agness Copper Spur UL2 bikepacking specific tents. So these are tents that have the short sticks. I'm going to jump back to the camera that's focused on me in my little office here, my little log cabin office. So I'm holding up the tent in my hand. You can see it's a very small. It weighs 3 pounds or so, and it's got these. It fits in a nice little pack that you can actually strap this straight to your handlebar. But I've got handlebar packs, specific bikepacking packs that make it easier, and allow you to bring more stuff in that as well. So it comes in a nice little kit, like I said, though, that you can actually just hook right to your handlebars directly. And the poles fold down into a very short, they're like 12 inches, 11 inches long. Most tents, even backpacking tents, when you fold the tent poles down, the sections are still like 30 inches or 28 inches long, which makes them difficult to strap to a bicycle. So some of these companies like Big Agness have come out with bikepacking versions of their backpacking tents with the short sticks. And this is a very nice freestanding tent. It can be set up fast fly without the inside part if you want, but it weighs so little. And we have lots of bugs up here. Trust me right now, the mosquitoes are crazy. It's nice to have that. So it's a 2-person tent, but I have a 1-person tent and a 2-person tent of my own. I don't have these tents. I have a Seatpack Cuban fiber tents. They're a little bit more, they're a couple $100 more expensive, and all that $200 more gets you, as I save about a pound or a pound and a half on this tent. So, but these are great, these Big Agness Copper Spur 2s. But as I said, I have a 2-person and a 1-person tent, and I tend to always want to bring the 2-person tent, even if it's just me. It just leaves you a lot more room to, move around in your tent, go through your, sort through your gear and stuff away from the bugs. And so I think the 2-person tents are nice. And then if you do want to go with somebody else, then actually it frees up even more space. So one of you can carry a tent and the other person doesn't have to, can bring more food or other things that you might want to bring on your trip. So anyway, so that's the tent that we've got. The other part of the sleep system that I have, the sleeping bag is a quilt. It's Enlightened equipment. They're a company over in Minnesota. They make very nice sleeping bags, quilt style sleeping bags. So they kind of they fit around the air mattress with straps, but they fold out flat as well to use just like a blanket. And then the foot box zips up so you can like tuck your feet in it if you want, like I said, or they completely unzip flat like a quilt. and they're very light. It's 50 degree. I got the 50 degree rating. I have a couple 40 and I think 130 as well, but I thought that 50, most people are probably going to be doing this in the warm weather. So the 50 degree are smaller, lighter, and packed down smaller. So I'm going to hold one of those up for everybody to see that. You can see it's really light. It weighs, 12 ounces or something like that. It compresses down into a nice small little bundle that will stuff into the handlebar bag, and then I got Exped Ultra 1R mummy shaped air mattresses. They're really small, really light, but very comfy. And one of the things I really like about the Exped stuff is they come with a inflation bag that clips to the air mattress with their schnozzle system that allows you to inflate this thing really quickly without blowing up with your lungs, and which does two things. One, it's faster, and two, it doesn't put any moisture inside the air mattress. And then they deflate really, really easily as well. They've got a separate opening for deflation that allows them to deflate quickly. But they're tiny, and these are about $130 or something like that. You might be able to find them cheaper. I have an older version of these, Hypermat, Synmat or something like that. It's a little bit bigger than this. I think it's a 3R rating, and but I really like it a lot. I've also got a Thermarest Neo Air Uberlight, which is even smaller and lighter than this, but it's noisier, it's crinklier, and their valve system is not as nice. So it's kind of a pain to blow up and deflate compared to this. So I tend to default to my Exped Hyperlight Synmat air mattress, even though I've got a much more expensive $230 or something like that. I think it cost me, and smaller and lighter Thermarest. I tend to go with this. So there isn't much size or weight penalty for these compared to the Thermarest Uberlight, and they're just as comfy, and the features of inflation and deflation are so much nicer. I think they're the choice for anybody that really, if you're looking at getting a small air mattress for this, that's what I would look at first. Save some money on the Thermarest one, and it's easier to use. So then I also got some small, inexpensive, inflatable camp pillows. They're really tiny. The brand I got, they're just something off of Amazon, are Trekology. I personally have Sea to Summit air pillow, and it's my Sea to Summit one I think was $40, $39. These things were $19, and I compared it to my more expensive one, and this is really not any bigger or heavier or anything. So it's a great deal as well. So went through the tent, the quilt, and the pillow and the air mattress. Now we'll talk about the bikepacking bags that you can borrow. So as I said and showed in that initial slide, I'm going to jump back to that for those of you that are watching. I'm going to jump back to the slide of the tent and my bike setup next to it. So on my bike, I've got the Salsa Anything Cradle mounted to the handlebars. My bike is a Salsa Horse Thief full suspension bike that I've shown here, and it's got straight bars on it, but these Anything Cradles mount to drop bar bikes as well. And in the foreground, you can see in between the tent and the bike, I've laid down on the grass, I've laid down the air mattress, the quilt, uncompressed, and the pillow. And just as reference, next to that I have I have a can of Earth Rider beer, just for a size reference. So you can see this stuff is pretty small, but so anyway, on my bike, I have a Salsa Anything Cradle mounted to it, and inside that, as pictured, is the entire tent, air mattress, pillow, and quilt in that, and the tent stakes are all strapped to that Salsa Anything Cradle on my handlebar. You can see it's pretty compact. And that Anything Cradle has a bag that opens from both sides. I'm going to jump back to me in the studio where I've got one sitting next to me. This Anything Cradle's got like a plastic cradle with a couple of, of those rubber like volet style straps to it. And then it's got a hinged mount system that mounts securely to your handlebar. Like I said, any handlebar, mountain bike or drop bar, it should fit to. And then comes with a waterproof bag that opens on both ends, and then it's got a vent on it so you can roll it up. It's roll closure like a dry bag, and you can fit the tent, the sleeping bag, the air mattress, the pillow, and probably a little bit more. You could probably stuff in a raincoat or a puffy coat or a camp towel. Or you could probably stuff a little bit more than just that sleep system in this bag. And then that straps to the Anything Cradle with those rubber volet style straps, and the tent poles folded up in their little bag with the stakes strapped to the outside of it too. So it all fits on your handlebars. It's a pretty nice compact system that gets the stuff away from your cables and your brake lines and stuff like that, and has room for you to put your hands on the bars as well. You can't see it in that photograph that I showed before because they're behind it, just the way the bike is positioned, but there are also two Relevate mountain feed bags. Those are the bags that I've got one here in the studio with me in my office, my little log cabin office. So those are made by Relevate. They are ideal for bringing extra water bottles along or having water bottles up right on your handlebar if you've got a frame bag that's taking up all the space for where your water bottle cages would normally be on your bike. You can put two water bottles in. There's one on each side of the stem that's where these mount. They just Velcro around your handlebar and the stem, and then hold down around the fork crown. And if you don't want to put water bottle, if you have not using a frame bag, you can, and your water bottles are still on your bike down there in the regular spot in the main triangle, you can use these to bring extra stuff along: food, snacks, tube, tire, whatever you want to jam in them. And the cool thing about the Relevate design that I really like is they open and close one-handed. They've got this neat system where you can open them and close them with one hand, so you don't have to take your other hand off the handlebars to get stuff out of them while you're riding. So you get two of those with the Anything Cradle. And then on the seat, you could see in that original, go back to that slide of the bike and the tent outside, and you can see there's a Relevate Terrapin 14-liter seat pack. That's strapped to my saddle and my seat post, and those fit on any bike. You don't need any specific kind of loops or anything on your saddle. I'll jump back to the studio again with me in my office, and I've got one of those here on my desk. So these things just mount with a couple of straps over on the rails of your saddle, and then there's another Velcro strap that goes around on the front of it that goes around your seat post, and it just sits back there. And then I like this. I've got one of these myself, and what I like about the Relevate design is that it's got the part that you strap to your bike stays on, so you don't have to fiddle with that when you get to camp. You can just leave that, but if you want to get your clothes and stuff out of the bag, the bag slides right out. And again, it's a waterproof roll closure bag with a vent on it, so you can stuff all your things in it and then roll up the top up tight and clip it closed, and then stuff it back in the pack and crank the straps down to tighten it, and let this valve lets the air out so you can compress it as small as you can reasonably make it with whatever you've got stuffed inside. So between this very large 14-liter seat pack and that Anything Cradle, I think you can bring along enough stuff and the mountain feed bags for a 1 or 2 night trip. And if you're just trying bike packing, that's probably the best place to start. Honestly, probably just a 1 night trip is probably the best way to start. Just do an overnighter. And so you put all your sleep gear and stuff in the front handlebar bag on the anything cradle, and then you put all your clothes and a couple of bike packing meals or your snacks and your toiletries in the seat pack, and you can stuff any snacks or any other things that you might need in those mountain feed bags, and head on off on a route and try bike packing without having to buy all the gear yourself. Sorry, I'm just having a sip of my soda. Or pop, as they like to say in the Northwoods. I still call it soda like we do in Milwaukee. But so let's see, did I go through everything? I also have stoves. So these are not expensive at all. They're just a little tiny, it's a BRS model that I just got on Amazon. They're super tiny little stoves that go on those isobutane containers like Coleman or MRS or whatever brand you find in any store. You can get them at Walmart. You don't have to go. Hardware stores often have them, and that would allow you to heat up, boil some water to make a bike packing meal. I'll probably add like 5, dangle mugs, like 750 milliliter dangle mugs to the kit as well. So you have something to boil water in, but you don't, you could bring any sort of metal mug that you might have at home as long as it's not insulated, and you could heat stuff up and cook out in the campground at your campsite. So I think that's everything that I have for renting. And as I said, I've got 5 sets of each of those things, and they're 2-person tents. So, you could actually bring an extra person along if in just one tent. And I'm going to try to purchase another 5 sets, and you'll be able to rent these from, hopefully, the shops will agree to add them to their rental equipment that they already have, their bikes and their skis and stuff that they rent throughout the year. And you'll be able to rent them at a reasonable price from either New Moon or Riverbrook in Hayward. I think that's about all I have for you today. I will have some further solo podcasts like this where I kind of set up the gear and go through it a little bit more detail, so you can see the merits of each one. I may, I was talking about my Thermarest air mattress being smaller and lighter than this by a little bit, and my tents being smaller and lighter. Maybe I'll do like sort of a comparison podcast where I show the stuff that my personal gear versus the gear that we have here, and compare the merits of and costs and benefits of each one. So anyway, that's it for this short little ramble. Thanks for coming along with me as I ramble along, and look for another podcast coming soon, a little bit longer one where we've got a guest, and hopefully TJ will be able to jump back in as my co-conspirator and co-host on that. And in the meantime, though, I hope you're having a great summer. And if you come up here for anything, whether it's for one of our many bike races or to go bike packing right now, the one thing that I don't have in my gear library that you absolutely need to bring is bug spray. The mosquitoes are super bad this year, although the dragonflies have finally come out and they're doing their thing, and it's really made a noticeable difference to have the dragonflies out eating however many mosquitoes they eat all day long. That's been a bonus, but the mosquitoes are pretty brutal. So bring bug spray with you and bring it on your bike ride. Bring it on your mountain bike ride in case you get a flat and you have to stop in the woods so you don't get chewed alive. You actually make it back out. And that's about it. So that's it for Sealy Dave signing off. Once again, thanks for joining us on this Northwoods Ramble. And if you do come up here, remember, watch out for deer. And we're going to let Hugh Bob take us out.